Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be discussing the newest makeup announcements and releases. Welcome back, and today we'll be discussing the newest makeup announcements and releases that have been made during the last couple of week time. So if you're new to my channel, I do these videos sort of every other 2 weeks where I sort of talk about the newest makeup announcements and launches. And by the way, if you're hearing some noise in the background, that's our dishwasher. Our kitchen is unfortunately the only place in our apartment that I can film in, so that is why there might be some background noise that you're hearing, but we will have to try to deal with it. And I do have to say, if the last video where I said that it had been a bit quiet in terms of releases, well, we can forget that now. Like, I have just within like a couple of 3 days, there's like been so many new makeup announcements, and there have been quite a couple of interesting things in this video that I am considering that should I get them. Indie brands have definitely been picking up their pace. There was a lot of like indie eyeshadow releases in this video, but also I'm pretty happy to see that we are seeing other makeup products than just eyeshadow palettes from these indie brands. But anyway, let's now start talking about the launches, and always you'll be seeing the image of the product that I'm talking about here and the names of the accounts that I have gotten these images from are in the description box. Please give those accounts a follow if you're on Instagram, because without them doing these makeup news videos would be very difficult. So first day launch that I think is at least somewhere either available already on States and in some European countries, but I haven't yet seen this in our L'Oreal retailers. So L'Oreal is launching their Infallible Laque Resistance 16-hour lipstick. So this is in a very similar packaging than their liquid lipstick, but this is a sort of lip lacquer. I did see a couple of, I think, German YouTubers who have been able to get this. I have seen people like testing this out. So this seems to be a very similar product to, for example, if you have seen the Maybelline lip vinyl or any other this kind of lip lacquer product. Also K-beauty and Asian beauty brands, they also kind of have a lot of these kind of lip lacquer type of products. The shade range is quite red heavy, I will say it quite upfront. I don't know is the fact that this kind of lip lacquer formula, is it easier maybe to do in reds, because I do feel that also quite many other lip lacquer lines that I have seen, those also tend to be more like brighter and sort of deeper shades rather than neutral, so I don't know, is it maybe a formula thing. There is one pinkish, moreish looking nude in the upper corner that I am kind of eyeing that when this product comes to our country, I might pick this up if it's something that currently that I want to include in my sort of monthly makeup purchases, but I'm not in a also like super hurry to get this one. I have like tried a couple of lip lacquer kind of products because we have been getting quite a lot of those in recent year or so, but it's definitely not maybe one of my like favorite lip products to wear. But if you at least live in like Germany and maybe in some other Central European countries, I think this is already available, and I think it's going to be coming soon to also other retailers. Then the first of indie launches, so Gourmande Girls actually has now launched this whole collection. So they have launched this sort of mermaid theme collection where there is a face palette and when there's an eyeshadow palette. I'm first gonna discuss the face palette. So I do have to say the color choices for the face palette are kind of different. This definitely goes with the mermaid theme of this particular collection, but especially the highlighter shades, those are kind of looking like that. I'm not even sure that if I would get this, that how the two like bluish highlighters, how those would look on my skin tone. The blushes, I do have to say that those probably would be something that would all suit me, and I do even think that the very pale lilac blush could actually be something that would work for me, because I do have a like cool rosy undertone. But the face palette for me, because Gourmande Girl is a brand that I can get through Monolith Shop, which is a European indie brand retailer, but I don't think for me the face palette in this collection isn't the most interesting thing. What I do think was the interesting thing was the eyeshadow palette. So what was this called? Kohl of the Sirens palette, and this should already be available on Gourmande Girl's own website, and I think this might come to Monolith Shops like May launch. I think they might have said somewhere that this might make it to the next one. I do think it's a beautiful palette, but this goes to a category of palettes that is a very jewel toned heavy palette. So I already know, even though I was kind of eyeing and thinking that there are kind of cool things within this color story, I think I will be skipping this one purely because there's a lot of also tones that I do know that I would not be using. But if you do like this sort of jewel toned mermaid theme, you can already get this collection on Gourmande Girl's website. And as I said, if you're especially in the eyeshadow palette and you live in Europe, then maybe wait for Monolith Shop's next launch. Charlotte Tilbury has come out with some new eyeliners, and were these double? I do like, I'm having a deja vu. So I think she have had like pencil eyeliners before, but I do remember those were double-sided. So I think there were like 2 different colors in each side, and within the whole range, I think there were like 4 or 3 shades. Anyway, these only have like 1 shade per product. I do think these are pretty, what I would say, typical eyeliner shades, especially for high-end brands. We have a brown, we have a deep blue, and then we have a typical black, and then we do like have a couple of interesting colors. There's a burgundy and a deep green. I don't use a lot of eyeliner in my makeup routine, but if you do like Charlotte Tilbury's eyeliners, then this could be an option. And there also seems to be this kind of smudging end on the other side, so if you like smudging your eyeliner, you do get that also with this product. So BALM, which is a brand that we don't hear a lot about these days, they have come out with new blushes, and something I will have to say that did make me raise my eyebrow is that really, because BALM is a big brand, they are quite of a long operating big beauty brand, and we only have 3 blush shades, which made me kind of think that really only 3 blush shades, like you are like, because the BALM has also made like they are I think known for a couple of like especially powder cheek products, so because they do actually have a history of making powder cheek products in their line, I'm a bit surprised that they only end up releasing 3 shades. This is a brand that I can't get in store, but there are quite a lot of like local online retailers that do sell the BALM, but it seems that it does take some time for stuff to get to us, but that's pretty normal when you live in Europe, that some things do come slow. Again, I would say that the cool toned pink lilac shade would probably be something that I'd be eyeing, but I'm really like thinking when I'm looking at the range of these shades that it's only 3 shades and none of these look particularly deep, at least in the images that I'm looking. So I'm just thinking that as a big brand, they could have maybe added a couple of more shades, especially maybe a couple of deeper shades, because all of these look very either light or maximum mid-tone. So yeah, but I think this is supposed to be already available at least on their own website, but if you like, probably if you're in States, you're able to get this quite easily, but for us Europeans, you might have to wait for these to come overseas. We're actually going to go through both of the Makeup Revolution launches. So first one is a product that's already out there, so this was their big launch I think during last week. So they have launched Wrap Lash Mascara, and this is a tubing mascara that they have been very heavily promoting on their socials. So my experience with Makeup Revolution mascaras, aside from eyeshadow palettes, which the brand has now gotten better in doing, but mascaras was probably the second category that I think Makeup Revolution really needed to work on, because I have tried several of the mascaras and I haven't liked any of them. It's just the fact that the formula hasn't been something that has suited at least my lash type. This is a tubing formula. I'm not a fan of tubing mascaras because I like to go straight to shower and then do my double cleansing routine, because with a tubing mascara you're supposed to take the tube separately out with warm water and not like go straight in with your sort of eyeshadow mascara remover. So for me this isn't necessarily a preferred formula purely because how you have to take it off. However, I do have to say the one looks kind of promising. It does have plastic bristles, which I'm not a fan of. The plastic bristles also look kind of spiky, which is a bit scary because I have tried my fair share of plastic bristle ones that have really spiky bristles that have actually like hurt when you accidentally get them on your eyeball when you apply a mascara. But I don't know, I'm a bit 50-60 because I do like the one shape and I would really like to find a good mascara from Makeup Revolution. So this could be something that I would try purely because I would want to see that since they have been improving the quality of their other products, that have they actually now improved also their mascaras. Because if it's a good tubing formula that does like do miracle on my lashes, then I can sort of get over the fact that it's a tubing formula and that you do have to work a bit to get it off. But yeah, so I'm probably gonna wait and see when this comes to our Makeup Revolution retailers and then try it out, but I'm not going my way out to order this separately. Then the second announcement that they just actually made, so they are expanding their jelly line and we're seeing jelly bronzers. You might have seen my recent makeup review video where I reviewed the W7 jelly blush, and I wasn't a fan of the formula, though this is of course like obviously a different brand. It could be that Makeup Revolution's jelly cheek product formula is awesome, but for me this isn't just an attractive sort of makeup product. And I was kind of thinking that because with this kind of jelly formulas the pigment isn't that punchy, so I assume that you are gonna get more of a sheer sort of bronzer application with this one, and because it's jelly formula, I assume it's gonna be quite of a more like dewier formula. So maybe for someone who has a dry skin this could actually be a good and interesting thing to try out, but I wasn't impressed with the sort of my experience with the jelly blushes, so for me this is something that I'm not going to be getting. And we wouldn't have a makeup release video without Catrice or Essence having a new launch, and this time it's actually Catrice. I don't think we have new Essence launches for this one. So this was a bit of a random drop. So Catrice came out with Eternal Red collection. So this is again one of their limited edition collections that they seem to do a lot these days with their sister brand Essence. And I think this had 3 sort of I think were those actually liquid lipsticks or lip glosses. They were either or. Then we had some lip care products, and there were couple of stick eyeshadows, and then there was a mini version of one of their lash like mascaras in a maroon shade. This is a skip for me. There wasn't anything appealing for me in this collection, and Catrice, I think both Catrice and Essence should probably a bit slow down how often they launch these kind of collections, because they seem to come out with these like not only anymore like once a month, but with some of these I think there's been like even 2 collections per month, and that's beginning to be a lot. So we have more indie brand releases. So Gimme Glow Cosmetics is releasing cream blushes, and they seem to have a very extensive range for cream blushes. I have heard when a lot of like indie brand owners discuss, they usually say that usually indie brands try to start out with, for example, face palettes, because it is cheaper for them as an initial investment to have a palette which is sort of single unit product instead of having many individual shades, because then the initial investment per shade you have to like put forward more money. So it is quite impressive knowing that this is probably a very like expensive way to launch a blush range, especially for a indie brand, that they are doing a very extensive cream blush shade, because I think there's like every shade of pink, and then there's every shade of peach. There's even I think a yellow blush, which that is something very interesting. I do have to say I do kind of like the packaging. However, for me this looks to be a very dewy glowy cream blush. I am having a bit of a drier skin. I have discussed this, that my skin type seems to be in some kind of changing phase currently, where it's going from combo to oily to apparently dry, which that is interesting. I think that probably is related to the fact that when you get into your 30s then things start changing up, but that's a discussion for another day. But it is a bit of a dual formula, but is this a brand that I can get in? I don't think Gimme Glow Cosmetics, I think the coloration palette they had with Blend Bunny, I think that was a product from them that was available on Monolith Shop, but I'm now thinking that is this actually even a interior product that I could get. I would certainly not like order this all the way from States, but yeah. When is this actually launching? This is going to be launching on May 9th, and it's going to be $22 each. I mean, if you are looking for glowy blushes from a indie brand that has a very extensive shade range of these blushes, then this could actually be something to look into, but I'm a bit unsure would this actually be something that I could even get. Then some high-end stuff. So ESUM, I'm always having trouble pronouncing this brand. So ESUM Cosmetics, which is a more makeup pro orientated brand. I think Morgan Turner is someone who talks quite a lot about this brand on her channel. They are coming out with Artistic Pigment palette number 5 Transform. So this is an all matte palette, and you can see, and as you can probably see from the image, it's a more colorful palette. And I think the previous palettes from this brand, they did have one that I think that had a bit of pinks and yellows, and then they have this like pretty like basic neutral palette, which for a pro makeup artist is probably the most used palette that they need in their sort of makeup kit. But This is definitely something different. This is maybe not, again, my kind of colorful color story, because if you like the upper row of the shades, that is quite, I would say, more of a like brighter colorful shades, but actually the two like other rows in this palette, they are again kind of this very jewel toned, deep leaning colorful shades. So for me, this is not something that I need, and also I like already have my fair share of colorful palettes. But if you especially do like this brand, and especially maybe if you're a makeup artist, then maybe this could actually be something to look into. This is priced at $80 US. As I said, this is a more pro brand, and they are more like expensive, but I have understood that their quality should be quite good. So NYX is expanding their highlighters. I think we're finally going to be getting the buttermelt highlighters in Europe. I have seen them now on a couple of online retailers. This is still a product that I'm waiting to get from the store. I'm not going to order individual highlighter from online, but I think these are now like mostly available in Europe. However, about this new interesting shade, this is called the Butta In Black, and I do have to say this looks very interesting. I do have to say, in the promo images there is actually a model with a lot fair skin wearing this, and it kind of looks, it looks very deep on this promo image, but basically on the skin it looks like it has a gold to sort of like lilac reef. Like you do kind of see from the promo image, especially from the model who has a fair skin, that it does leave kind of a bit of a cast. So maybe to someone with a lighter skin tone, this could be a blush stopper if you're wearing, for example, a more mauvish leaning blush or a more lilac leaning blush. I do think for that it could work, but for highlighting purposes, I do think this might be a better shade for those who have a deeper skin tone. I do have to say, while I am perhaps out of my sort of colored highlighter pace, I certainly did go that through during the 2016s and 70s, but I do think it's nice that we're getting something a bit different, because for the longest time highlighters really weren't in the makeup market as a whole. So I will give NYX kudos for this one. It is quite interesting highlighter shade, even though this is not something that I would get from this particular range. So Too Faced has launched Kissing Juice Juicy Tint. So these are apparently, as the name implies, lip tints. Based on the swatches, I do think these do seem to carry some pigments, because some of these sort of lip tint kind of products, not all of them do have a lot of pigment. However, these are available already on... These are already available on the States. I'm trying to think that have I seen it, because we can get Too Faced in our makeup retailers, but I'm not so sure yet have I actually seen these. If you live in US, these are $26 US. I can get this kind of product with less money. Too Faced just isn't generally a brand that I'm... Like, I do know that they have been coming out, like they do seem to launch quite regularly, but something about their products just, it seems that it is not as perhaps appealing, because at some point I do remember that Too Faced used to be one of those very like in makeup brands that a lot of people were reviewing, and I actually also remember looking at some of their original, like the peach palette and chocolate palettes, because those were the thing back then. But I do think in recent years maybe their launches haven't been that interesting, so this is a skip for me. Then Morphe is coming out with Sudden Heat Creamy Bronzer Sticks. These I think are also already available on Ulta Beauty, and I think these will be also come to our Morphe retailers. Our Morphe retailers just got the blush trios. I am actually testing out the blush trio currently, so this is actually something that's on my cheek currently. This was in the shade Blind Date, and yeah, so because we just got the cheek trios, it's probably gonna take a while for the bronzer sticks to come, but so far, because I have been actually kind of liking the new, like now since Morphe has a new owner and they're trying to turn things up a bit, so so far I've been at least thinking that they've been doing a pretty decent job, so this again could actually be a product that I would be interested to try. And Morphe's products, even though when they come to Europe there isn't that big of a price hike, because with some US brands, not just indie brands, but with bigger brands, there seems to be that there's a bigger price hike when they get to here. But Morphe is one of those brands where it's like a bit more expensive, but it's not that much more expensive. How many shades are there? 5 shades. I do think Morphe as a big brand, they could maybe have gone with 6 or 7 shades, but 5, I mean, I do think the deepest shade looks quite deep and the fairest shade looks quite fair, and there is a bit of shades in between, so I do think that it's an alright shade range, but they could have maybe done a couple more shades. So what is this claiming to do? Soft matte medium buildable finish. Okay, great, it's a matte. Yeah, this is definitely going to my try pile when this will become available, because if it's a matte cream stick bronzer, then it's definitely something I do like, because I'm a person who does prefer having a more matte finish with my bronzing and contouring products. So interested to see when this is going to be available in Europe, but as I said, if you live in US, you can already get this one. Charlotte Tilbury, we could have gone this with the other eyeliners. So this is apparently Asia exclusive, and you can pretty much see it from the shade range. So apparently in Asia, Charlotte Tilbury has come with a cushion foundation. I'm not surprised that she has specifically launched this, at least initially in Asia, because in Asia cushion foundations are a very popular product. It's, I think, most of their foundation products seem to be in a lot of Asian countries cushion foundations rather than these maybe more full coverage foundations. But I do get it that maybe because of the weather and such, those do fit kind of better. But it's also probably just consumer preferences. I do hope when and if this comes to Europe and American markets, they are gonna put more shades, because for shades that also kind of look identical when I'm looking at the swatches on the image here, this is definitely not a proper shade range, like and also the fact that there doesn't seem to be a lot of separation within these shades. The compact is very nice. Charlotte Tilbury can do a nice packaging, so I do think the packaging of this is quite nice, but yeah, hopefully when this will come to the Western markets, we're gonna get a bit more shades, and hopefully there will be some differentiation between the different shades. ColourPop has launched a new collaboration, so they're doing a collaboration with Tangled. I do think this is actually pretty nice. Like the ColourPop definitely for me does these IP collaborations, especially these Disney themed ones. They do these quite well, and I do kind of like this combination. I do think actually this is a pretty like spring appropriate palette for someone who likes neutrals but wants to dip into a bit of color, because you can see from the palette that is, of course, goes with the movie's color theme. We do have there's a pop of yellow here, there's some like lilac shades, but then you also get the sort of neutrals to balance out things. So I do think it's actually a pretty cute and nice palette. There's also some lip glosses, there seems to be a hairbrush, then they have this sort of gel glitters that they do. And what else? I'm looking at is that liquid eyeshadow in the tube? What is that? Pascal hair. Oh, there's Pascal hair clip. Oh my god, that's cute. Very cute. It's the green thing. If you have watched the movie, it's the green companion that I don't remember the animal's name. I do know there's a name for the animal or lizard that Pascal is, but definitely I do have to give the Pascal hair clip looks also very cute. Glittery Obsessed, that was I think the potted eyeshadow liquid highlight. Okay, so their liquid highlighters are the ones in the other tube. So yeah. I do have to also say this is quite of a, how should I say, because some of these IP collaboration collections have been quite big. I do actually think that this is nicely curated. I don't feel there's like too many things. So if you like Tangled, this should already be available. Another indie brand with some interesting new releases. So what was this? Unearthly's, yeah. So Unearthly Cosmetics has come out, sorry, not Unearthly, Adept. So let's try that again. So Adept Cosmetics has launched Simplicity Cream Blushes. Again, I do have to say I'm quite impressed with the shade range. I mean, like, when I said that theBalm had only 3 shades and they are more big established brand, and even Adept and Gimme Glow can do like these very extensive blush shade ranges, I'm like thinking that like honestly, like mainstream brands, you can do better. You have the resources, because the indie brands, some of them don't have, and even still we get this from the indie brands. I'm not too sure are these gonna come to Monolith Shop, because Monolith Shop definitely they do prioritize getting eyeshadow palettes, because I do understand that that's probably them like most selling product, especially from indie brands. But I do think that there are some interesting, like this is definitely a more muted shade range of blushes that I'm looking. There are a couple of, there's like one very punchy pink in the like upper row of the blushes, but otherwise these are very muted, which could actually be a good thing, because then most likely people are more likely like more likely to find a shade, because if you just have very like bright blushes, some people like me do, like I can get down with a good bright blush, but I definitely think that this is also a good blush range for someone who just wants maybe something a bit more toned down. I'm looking at the shades. Definitely the shade that I'm looking currently is in the bottom row. There is this more like a muted rosy pink, and I am kind of actually eyeing the more grayish lilac looking one because I have a cool rosy undertone. Actually, the lilac one could actually be something that would look nice on my particular skin tone. These should already be available on Adept's own website, but if you live in Europe, maybe keep your eye on Monolith Shop and see that are they gonna stock these, or it could also be that they stock some of the shades and don't have all the shades. If you buy this directly from Adept's own website, it's gonna be $26 each. For an indie brand, I do think it's a pretty decent price for their blushes. More indie. So Fantasy Cosmetica has launched a new collection, and they have this is called the Ranger collection. So Fantasy Cosmetica, they are a sort of fantasy RPG game-based brand, so they are now doing the sort of Ranger. I was maybe thinking that this sort of red greenish color story, I was kind of thinking that maybe a fall palette. I was thinking that for spring and summer, I definitely thought that the Monk palette that they launched earlier, that was like, I was thinking that okay, that would have been perfect for summer. But this is kind of more like what I would go with the fall, but of course you can wear any kind of color around the year, so it doesn't really matter. But just for my makeup preferences, I was maybe thinking that this reminds me of maybe fall more than summer or spring. Aside from the palette, there seems to be some nail lacquers, and they also do perfumes. However, due to some, especially with the both nail lacquers and actually with the perfumes, because those are hazmat products, those are very difficult to ship, like especially across the sea. So most likely to the Monolith Shop, there's gonna be only the palette, and we're probably for the Europe we're not gonna be getting the perfumes and the nail varnishes. For me, this isn't a color story. I have been for the longest time waiting that Fantasy Cosmetica would come with a color story. With the Monk palette, we did get already quite close, but for me, this is a skip. It's not a color story I'm vibing for, but I do have to say, as a color story, it is still like very fun and cohesive color story. I do like the combination of red and greens, but for me, it's just not something that I'm currently looking forward. If you're planning to, this should already be actually available when the. Yeah, I think this is going to be available when my video is going to go live, so if you want to get this from Fantasy Cosmetica's website, this is going to be coming out on the April 13th, and for if you live in Europe, check on Monolith Shop's Instagram and see when they are going to be having their next launch. We have two things from Lancôme, and one of them is actually something that made me think that, oh my god, that's probably something we're going to buy, however the first product is not that one. So, Lancôme, this is apparently a re-release, or is it actually, no, it's just a release. I was kind of reading somewhere that this might actually be a re-release, but this is actually a new product. So this is the Lip Idole JuicyTreat lip gloss for summer 25. These were actually, I think, one of our department stores sort of put these out before these were announced, and this is actually not the first time. This was actually the same case when the YSL highlighters came out, and they put the blushes in the website and then they put the highlighters, and then I went like, wait a second, I haven't seen anyone saying that YSL has powder highlighters. So this was actually kind of product that maybe I could have actually posted them being the first one to put it online, but then I was thinking that okay, yeah, but I actually had like my paid work to do, so I didn't have time at that moment. But yeah, 15 shades, that's pretty extensive for, well, these are probably also expensive, but the 15 shades is pretty extensive. However, these seem to be a lip gloss, so, well, if some of the shades are more pigmented than the other, then the 15 shades is not actually that bad, but I'm kind of thinking that I would have to maybe see in store that how sheer or opaque this formula is. I don't remember what the pricing of these ones are. I think maybe in our retailers it was close to 30 euros, so definitely up there, but it's Lancôme, so it's also expected that these are probably more high-end priced. So then the one that got me thinking that okay, if that comes available in our retailers, then I'm probably getting it. So Lancôme's eyeshadow palettes are not known for getting anyone excited. It's a very like, they have their queens that are very like traditional, what you would see from other like luxury and high-end brands. And then they occasionally do come out with this limited edition palette, for example Christmas, but those also, they've been kind of nice, but not something that would grab my attention, but this definitely did get my attention. So this is apparently currently available only in the UK, so this is called the Idole Café Crush Maxi palette. with Sheika Daily. I think Sheika Daily. So is that a coffee chain or is it a coffee brand or is it an influencer? I'm gonna put it in the screen that what is the collaboration, because I don't know now what the collaboration. It's definitely coffee themed, I get it, but now I don't know is this a sort of coffee chain brand or a influencer or who is this. But regardless, the palette is definitely like I think if Lancôme would release more of these interesting palettes, I think definitely more people would be buying from them. But though a lot of people do buy from them, so they obviously don't maybe need it. But is this the most basic brown palette that I have ever seen? Yes, it's a very basic deep brown palette, but something with the combination of this color story, it's very delicious in some way. It's hard to describe, but this is like, I think definitely one of the first like Lancôme palettes for a... They used to do this very like big... I actually owned one of the big rectangular palettes. I don't remember what was the name of the palette series, but I used to own the very big rectangular ones, and those were kind of exciting for the time. That was like in somewhere between 2013 and 14, so this was like a very long time ago. But definitely I'm keeping my eye out. Hopefully this will come also to other retailers outside UK, because I think there would be a very big market for this one. We shall wait and see. So this is something that was sneak peeked a couple of weeks ago, and now we have the full reveal. So DD Signature has launched a eyeshadow palette, and then they launched lip kits. I was kind of expecting more, because based on when they initially showed the packaging, I was thinking that we're gonna get this maybe like orangey, purplish, like very summer warm toned palette. But then when the inside was revealed, I was thinking that okay, that's a nice rainbow palette, but I don't need that because I already have my fair share of like indie rainbow palettes. I do think that if you are looking for a rainbow palette, I do believe people have said that DD Signature, especially in recently, their eyeshadow quality has gone up. So if you're interested to try out this brand and you like your colorful shades, then this could be the ideal palette for you. But for me, when I saw this, I was immediately like that I'm good. The lip combos look kind of nice. So the lip combos, apparently there seems to be so that they include a gloss and a lip liner, at least based on the promo images that I'm seeing. There are some pretty nice looking I do like it, the fact that these are pretty neutral leaning shades, but again with because this is a US based indie brand, for Monolith Shop most likely the eyeshadow palette is definitely something that we will probably get, but I am a bit unsure that are we gonna get the lip kits. But if you want to get these from DD Signature's own website, these should already be available. The palette is $48.99 US. I think you can use influencer codes. And how much are the lip? There, it doesn't. I don't have the pricing information of the lip kits, but you can definitely find that also information from their website. Then a indie influencer owned indie brand. So Sinch Beauty, which is Angelica Nyqvist's indie brand, and Angie is someone who I follow a lot. I do like her video content. She is very good at what she does. She is coming out. This is now her brand's second eyeshadow palette release. So what was this called? A Gate Temptation was the name of this one, and this will be launching on May on Sinch Beauty's own website. I'm a bit unsure that if this is launching on Sinch Beauty's own website during May, that is this actually something that's gonna make it to Monolith Shop's May launch, or is it actually something that will come to the Monolith site maybe during June? So that is something that we shall have to see. I do have to say this color story is very Angie. This did make me momentarily think about that this might have gotten some heavy inspiration from her Odin's Eye collaboration. So the original Hella palette collaboration that she did with Odin's Eye, that is still like one of my absolute favorite like Odin's Eye palettes ever, and not only because it was done in collaboration with a influencer that I like to watch, but also because it had this combination of pinks and greens. This has a combination of pinks and reds and greens, so it is a bit different. However, I am looking at the greens, and the Hella palette also did have kind of different tones of greens. It had this bit more earthy and mustardy tones, and the greens definitely in this palette made me think about that. But this one, in order to balance out the greens, it's more like red, brown leaning rather than the original like Odin's Eye Hella palette, which actually then had like I think there was pink, and then there was like there were grays and black, I think were the ones shades in that one. There might have been like a couple of browns, but this is definitely more brown heavy also compared to the Hella palette. I'm a bit 50-50 on this one. That I wasn't the original eyeshadow palette. I don't remember the name of it. It had the kind of, I think there was a UFO or something in the cover of it. The color story of that one wasn't appealing to me. This is I'm kind of like thinking 50-50 because I would definitely like to try Cinch Beauty, but I'm not obviously going to be buying an eyeshadow palette that I don't like in terms of color story. But with this one, the color story is definitely it is quite interesting. But I will have to see. And again, this is actually a color story that I do have in my sort of Beauty Bay 42 Pan Earthy palette. So with these sort of red-green combo palettes, I'm always going like that, yeah, that looks nice, but I already have something in my collection. So that is something to consider, but keep your eyes out during May. So if you live in States, wait for May, and when the brand announces the official launch date, and for us Europeans, wait for Monolith to announce when they're gonna be having this one. So then something that I spotted on Heather Austin's on Instagram. So apparently Sigma is coming out with the Spectrum eyeshadow palette, and this is going to be launching on May 13th. This is a big palette, so Sigma has been known in recent years for doing these rectangle palettes. They have been quite popular, and I do think they are quite of a good palette concept. I think there are 12 or... is there 12 or 14 shades in one of the... Well, it's less than 20 because I do have to say that 20 shades is already going to be quite of a big palette. So the Sigma's description of this one says that there is like 20 earthy tone shades in this one, but for me this is actually, rather than being earthy tone, this looks very warm. And I do have to say, for me this looks like that unless you have the like, you can see on the like the last row on the side that has a bit of depth, but otherwise this looks very mid-tone heavy palette for me. So I don't think for me this is maybe Sigma's best color story, because I do think there's more like the rectangular palettes, those have been like very good in the fact there's been like depth and there's been variation, but this one looks that if you cover the last row it looks very like one-tone palette. Also in terms of color stories, I do think a lot of these shades do kind of look that they could dupe each other out. This could also be the fact that if Heather has taken a picture of this palette outside in bright sunlight, it could maybe wash this out. This could maybe look better in some kind of other lighting, but just based on this initial image, this doesn't look exactly the kind of palette that I would like to get. But if you love this sort of very warm-toned sort of palette and you like Sigma's quality, this should be available during May. So my dishwasher was very much making filming this video harder, but thank God we made it to the end. About this week's releases, some really interesting stuff, like not maybe things that I'm like immediately like that I have to get, but I'm definitely like thinking that I'm gonna wait and see maybe some reviews of the Cinch Beauty palettes. And she did tell on her YouTube channel that she was gonna have this sort of creator and friends event, so I assume that there's gonna be probably a lot of like YouTubers that I follow will be probably posting some kind of material about the palette from that event just that she's holding for these influencers. So I'm hoping to see like more images, for like real life images of this palette, and maybe swatches and some demo looks. And yeah, the Morphe cream bronzer is something that I'm eyeing, but yeah, it was definitely like more of a busier week. A lot of like blush releases again, so we are still going with the blush train, but it seems that brands are definitely like picking up their pace in terms of launches. Comment down below what did you think about the releases, and was there something that you're planning to buy in the future. If you like this video, push the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell button if you want to get notifications from future content. You can also find me with the same nickname, Makeup Hedgehog, on Instagram. I hope I can see you in another video. Bye bye!